How's it going, everyone? So, recently you probably would have heard about the feud between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, particularly in regards to Elizabeth Warren calling Bernie Sanders a sexist for apparently stating that a woman couldn't win the presidency. Now, we know this from four anonymous sources that came out recently, which were told by Elizabeth Warren around 2 years ago, that Bernie Sanders had told her that a woman couldn't win the presidency in 2020. Now, of course, the only issue here is that this is hearsay. So, I guess with this, the only people in the room were Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. And, there's no really real way to actually prove that Bernie Sanders said this. But another thing that a lot of people have been stating and a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about is the fact that the likelihood of Bernie Sanders saying this is very, very low. I mean, like if you think about it, the ability for him to say that a woman wouldn't be able to become president is pretty low, just because of the fact that he's always wanted more women in politics. I mean, if you look for his record, there's like video clips of him for like 30 years ago saying that encouraging more women to run in politics, while also I think there was one video where he's in a classroom full of students, and basically stating that encouraging those students, the girl students in that class, to run for a position in politics. So the likelihood of this occurring is quite low, as I just said, and the response from the mainstream media has been quite misleading. I mean, if you look at the debates, particularly the recent debate recently, if you look at what they ask, I'll show you the video now.
Let's not turn to an issue that's come up in the last 48 hours. Senator Sanders, CNN reported yesterday and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement that in 2018, you told her that you did not believe that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this, because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows me knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today. There's some video of me 30 years ago talking about how a woman could become president of the United States. In 2015, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren. There was a movement to draft Senator Warren to run for president. And you know what? I stayed back. Senator Warren decided not to run, and I did run afterwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. How could anybody in a million years not believe that a woman could become president of the United States? And let me be very clear. If any of the women on this stage or any of the men on this stage win the nomination, I hope that's not the case. I hope it's me. But if they do, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they are elected in order to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
So Senator Sanders, I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
I disagreed. Bernie is my friend, and I am not here to try to fight with Bernie. But look, this question about whether or not a woman can be president has been raised, and it's time for us to attack it head on. And I think the best way to talk about who can win is by looking at people's winning record. So, can a woman beat Donald Trump? Look at the men on this stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women, Amy and me. only person on this stage who has beaten an incumbent Republican any time in the past 30 years is me. And here's what I know. The real danger that we face as Democrats is picking a candidate who can't pull our party together or someone who takes for granted big parts of the Democratic constituency. We need a candidate who will excite all parts of the Democratic Party, bring everyone in, and give everyone a Democrat to believe in. That's my plan, and that is why I'm going to win.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you.
If you look at the video, I mean, like the lady, I mean, the moderator asks Bernie like, "Oh, why did you say that to Elizabeth Warren?" As if it's a known fact that Bernie Sanders actually said that. Now, of course, Bernie denies ever saying that because the likelihood of him saying that is pretty low, and I doubt he would ever say such a thing, particularly because it doesn't work for his interests. Plus, it conveniently came out at a time when we're coming close to the Iowa poll on February 3rd. So obviously, the moderator asks Elizabeth Warren, "Oh, how did you feel when Bernie Sanders said a woman wouldn't be able to win?" And you can hear the audience just laugh at like how biased the moderator is when it comes to actually asking questions to each of the candidates. And Elizabeth Warren like answers back, and she says something along the lines of basically like trying to prove that she's won every single election as a woman so far, and that she is more than capable of doing it. The only thing is, no one on that debate stage said that a woman wouldn't be able to win the presidency. So it's just filling up the air, pretty much. There's no point in actually saying that type of, stating that type of position. Now, of course, this is most likely a lie by Elizabeth Warren to damage Bernie Sanders' chances coming into Iowa. This isn't probably, I mean, to be honest, Elizabeth Warren is not doing well in the polls at all. She's about to pretty much fall out of the race, and it's doubtful that she'll gain a boost from this, a much boost to really gain any traction. Now, the most likely deal what's happening here is she's most likely done a deal with Joe Biden. If Joe Biden does get a nomination, the Democratic nomination, there might have been a deal between her and Biden to state that she might be able to run as Secretary of Treasury or as or for a VP pick. Now, of course, the convenience of it all has blown up in Elizabeth's face, pretty much, and basically the left wing movement in America has basically just gone against Elizabeth and decided to support Bernie instead. Now, I guess with this, it kind of just showcases another issue with Warren, and that is the fact that she can't really be trusted. I mean, as you can see, as you've probably heard of in the past, she no longer supports Medicare for all in the United States. She's a pretty ardent supporter of the military-industrial complex, and also she still wants to take corporate money in the general election, which doesn't sit well with me at all. I remember, it was in a TYT interview with Cenk Uygur. They were talking about how she wouldn't take any corporate PAC money in the primaries, but when it comes to the general, she'd be more than happy to take corporate PAC money and ensure that she wins the election. Now, of course, the only issue with that is if you're taking corporate PAC money to win an election, then you're not going to be representing the interests of the general public. You're going to be representing your corporate donors. And the fact that she no longer supports Medicare for All kind of shows that the insurance industry is probably funding her as well. and maybe some of the military contractors, considering her home state of Massachusetts is a very big industrial area for armaments for those contractors. So now there's also the fact that she also tried to pass as Native American to get a job, and then she also voted for Trump's military budget twice. So, I mean, Warren is someone that is willing, she is a bit of a careerist. She is willing to kowtow to the establishment just so she can gain a higher position for herself. And it's apparent that Warren has backstabbed Bernie in the back here. I mean, they've both been friends in the past, but the fact that back in 2016, the fact that Warren didn't run when Bernie encouraged her to do so, and Bernie had to run instead, and then when Bernie didn't get the endorsement from her, and when she endorsed Hillary Clinton instead, that could have affected Bernie's chances in Massachusetts at the time. I think Massachusetts was a tight race, and the fact that Bernie lost that race could have been reversed if Warren had supported him in the during the primaries, and that could have paved the way to him winning the nomination as well. So with this, the left ever since then has been, although they've gone past that issue of endorsement back in 2016. This new issue now with Warren talking smack with Bernie about the fact that he's apparently made some sexist remarks around 2 years ago showcases that basically she can't be trusted. And I guess what the left in America will have to do now is support Bernie as much as possible, because of the fact that a lot of the Democratic establishment's been trying to derail his campaign, mainly because he threatens the corporate establishment in America, while also the mainstream media is also are railing against Bernie as well, because of the fact that Bernie does look like he has an actual chance to win in this primary, and there's the fact that he's a threat to the corporate interests that fund the mainstream media in America, and pretty much on the corporate and the fact that his policies will threaten a lot of corporate America's benefits, pretty much. Now, of course, from this point on, I doubt Warren will be gaining any more points in the polls. There was actually a donation campaign after this occurred, and Bernie Sanders got like millions of dollars in donations for his campaign. So it's actually done the reverse, and hasn't actually hurt Bernie. It's actually helped him instead. So with this, I mean, I guess what we need to do now is just wait and see if what happens in Iowa. It's looking likely that Bernie will probably have a good chance of winning Iowa, and plus the few other states that's coming up as well. The biggest challenge here is probably going to be Super Tuesday, which is in March, early March, I believe, where Biden is polling pretty well against a lot of the states down there. So yeah, and I guess with Biden, of course, Biden's your typical neoliberal corporate Democrat. So if he wins the nomination, then Trump will most likely get elected, and probably have another 4 years of Trump. But if Bernie gets elected in the primary, then we may be able. There's a very good chance, because Bernie polls so well against Trump. Bernie will probably beat him and be able to win the election in the general. Yeah, but as you can see, as I said, this has blown up in Warren's face, and the fact that she would backstab Bernie like this kind of shows that she is a bit of a snake.